Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of LMNOP, your favorite podcast about my favorite television show, Elementary.
Cosmos.
What?
Cosmos.
Bob's Burgers again.
It's just Bob's Burgers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done coming up with a joke every week. I just want to watch Bob's Burgers.
I'm
If
hearing
you say it enough times, it'll come true.
Yeah, I'm hearing you, and I'm not listening.
Oh, okay.
This is the show about Elementary, and I'm your host, Val Flight Cub, aka Lucy with the fatherly attention ball.
And I am your hostess, Cupcake, Alec, aka ABC's hit family sitcom starring Lawrence Fishburne, Brackish.
And we have a lovely guest, our first guest of the whole dang
Ever.
thing. Yeah. I'm very excited to welcome on my very good friend, Alex. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Alex. Don't worry, there's two of me, so we won't get me confused. And I'm on a very small plane with a very large wrench.
Careful, it's dangerous.
Oh, dang. Amazing. So, Alex, had you ever seen Elementary before?
I had not.
But being a host on HKIP, you have heard about it.
And your friend, yes.
Yes. I do talk about it everywhere that I can.
Turns out it's good.
Yay! I'm glad you liked it. So, shall we discuss the episode?
Yeah.
Get ready.
Yeah, and we're going to be talking about the pilot episode. Not to be confused with the first episode.
Called Flight Risk. Season 1, Episode 6, Flight Risk. Yes.
More like Flight Cub.
More like Flight Cub, if you think about it. When I jump up on a fence and walk from post to post, that's a Flight Cub risk.
And when you break your bone, that's the Flight Cub wrist.
It is. You're so wise. So this episode starts with Joan being woken up to extremely loud radio sounds, like police dispatch radio. And she goes downstairs to the media room, and it's because there's a very large police dispatch radio in there.
Mm-hmm.
And, Sherlock comes up and he's like, oh, sorry, I went downstairs for cereal, which the problem with turning your speakers up loud enough that you can hear it downstairs is you can also hear it upstairs.
And also all of his neighbors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do love my first impression of Sherwood this thing is just his big yellow bowl of cereal. It's very cute.
Yes. He likes to eat things out of bowls that are kind of too big. Because
I appreciate that.
in an episode that we have seen, but while recording this, it hasn't come out yet, but the person listening to this will have heard the episode we're talking about. Anyway, there's a previous episode where he's eating eggs out of a metal bowl that's not egg size.
Like a mixing bowl?
Yeah, it's like a small mixing bowl, but it's still like definitely not intended to eat eggs out of.
That's fantastic.
The key is Sherlock, doesn't like to sleep or eat unless he absolutely has to. So he just like super loads up and has like 4 portions of breakfast all at once.
Mm.
Yeah. He, in a later episode, says, like, if I could just eat gray sludge, I would.
Yeah, try the gray stuff. It's delicious.
No, nobody tell this guy about Soylent.
Yeah, for real.
Nobody let this guy go on Reddit.
Oh boy, I'm really glad that Sherlock is not on Reddit. He's just on beekeeping forums, where he's very annoying, but it's because he loves the bees. Are you still there?
Yeah, I was just thinking about bees.
Me too, thanks.
Me too, thanks.
Has the episode come out yet where I explained to Alec about the Me Too Thanks?
Well,
I don't
if it
think
hasn't,
so.
I still don't remember it. Yeah, apparently you told me and it just went away.
I mean, that's fine. You told me what a safety is in football, and I don't remember.
But how many points?
2?
Yay.
Yeah. Alex, you know what a safety is in football?
2 points.
Yep. Moving on.
It's when you put on your helmet.
You get 2 points for that?
Yeah, it's safety.
That's great. I think they should just forget about the ball and just do safety precautions for points.
Oh my gosh. That would be, I mean, they're already padded up to just be even more padded.
Right? Like, you see them in the padding, and you're like, how did they get in there? And you don't know, because that's not the game.
No.
But what if that part was the game?
I'm into it. I like it. New game, safety football. Safe ball. Foot.
No, there's no ball involved, just safe foot.
Safe foot. And the rest of you. And the rest. So Joan and Sherlock are lamenting the fact, well, Sherlock is like, yeah, I've been listening to the police scanner because we haven't had any interesting cases. Nothing's happened. They haven't called us in. And Joan is like, oh, well, you know, maybe somebody will put their mother-in-law in a wood chipper and you'll have something to do. And Sherlock just holds up his crossed fingers.
He's like, that would make me chipper.
Yeah.
That's good.
Thank you.
Yeah, because it's kind of that's the truth of his life, is his thing that he likes to do does necessitate somebody having done something very horrible, but hopefully in a confusing way.
I mean, if he really wanted to, he could just, like, help children find their missing stuff. But
Snooze fest.
that doesn't make for good television.
That's true. That's season 8.
That's the new season of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where they just stop being cops.
Yes, exactly. They don't start working at the post office. They just quit working at all.
Yeah.
They just volunteer for kids. So Joan tells Sherlock that his dad has emailed her to say that he wants to have dinner with them. And Sherlock is like, ha 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 ha, that's not happening. My dad does not show. He doesn't come to things. And Joan is like, what?
So Sherman is like, you've never met him, like, in almost like a conspiratorial way, like he's a truther about his own dad, which I'm gonna pick back up on later. But I just want to plant that seed there.
He is. And he says, like, as someone who's spent incrementally more time with him. So, like, you know, he thinks he might have seen his dad once, but he was a kid. So he doesn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Then they hear on the radio that there's a 1066 and that Gregson has 80 Ford. And apparently that means there's something unusual that's happened, and Gregson is on the scene. And since it was on the beach, it's not a train crash or a building collapse, which means it's gonna be a plane crash.
Or a sea monster.
No, that's not.
1066 is unusual thingy happen. Are you telling me that a sea monster is a usual occurrence?
That would be a 10666.
Oh.
Like a paranormal event.
Demon.
Sorry, I didn't know you read the entire fucking police code book. Now I feel...
No, that's just the one I know.
So they go to the beach. It's a beach episode. No, it's not.
I mean, kind of.
Kind of.
Yeah, Sherlock and Joan get dressed up in 1930s swimwear.
So they show up at the scene, and Alex, you're new to this series, so you might not know that this isn't what Sherlock always looks like, but did you notice that he had, like, so much stubble and, like, just looked disheveled?
I kind of thought that was what he always looked like.
Yeah. he kind of looks like that a lot, but especially this one.
He's in distress right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's gone 3 whole days without, you know, solving a crime.
Without owning someone on the internet. I do want to, like, shout out his, like, physical acting in this scene, because he seemed, like, so awkward and uncomfortable here.
Yeah.
Like, just the way he was, like, standing and, like, walking on the sand was as if someone had never walked on sand before.
Yeah, he was kind of, like, cat in high grass about it, like...
Yeah.
Sherlock's physical awkwardness is a highlight of Johnny Lee Miller's acting ability. So Sherlock is like, hello, I'm here to help with the plane crash. And they're like, we're good. We looked at it and we discovered it was a plane crash. So...
It was just a normal run-of-the-mill plane crash.
A normal crash.
It was a regular one.
I do want to say, like, I feel like the show didn't really, like, it skipped its homework here, because they're like, oh, this isn't even a crime scene, except that they, like, are obviously treating it as a crime scene and like not moving the bodies, which you would probably do if there was a crash.
Oh.
It's all like taped off like a crime scene and they're just like walking around it. Whereas if it was actually a crash scene, probably there would be ambulances and like they would be taking the bodies to the hospital.
Oh, yeah. But the fact that they're like, well, these are definitely dead. We'll just leave them.
Yeah. Just leaving them and taking pictures.
That's a good point. So they're like, okay, we don't need your help. Thanks, Sherlock. And he's like, great. And he just walks in and he starts looking at stuff.
Basically, they say, we don't need your help. And he says, are you sure?
Lock?
Sure?
Like
a seashore?
Oh,
like the beach.
I was going for Shorelock.
All right. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of the episode.
Thank you so much
I'm
for your
gonna get
cameo,
going.
Alec.
I do have Shoreline on my like list of things to call Sherlock, so we can just get to that.
So Shoreline is, very, he's very interested. And he's like, oh, these people are all lawyers because they have toiletry bags that have the company of a he
law firm.
Well, yeah. Well, it's a dictation service something. But he's right. So, whatever. I think this is one of the first episodes that we get like a really graphic like death scene. Or not like death scene, but like
body?
Yeah, body. Because they like have a close up on this guy's leg that's just like got a chunk taken out of it.
Yeah, it looks like salami.
It kind of does. Yeah. And then there's somebody else with their skull bonked in. And Sherlock is like, wait a minute. This plane crashed because there was a murder on the plane. Because these people were dead by the time it crashed. And also this guy has a big spot in his head where he got bonked. Real hard.
Yeah, and the big thing was that his salami knee, although it was bloody and gross, his pants were not bloody and gross, which means that he was not alive when that giant cut happened.
Right.
Otherwise, he would have bled out.
Yes. And then we get to a very, very interesting piece of dialogue and interaction where there's sand on this beach.
A sandy beach.
Yeah. It's have you ever seen that before?
I've heard tale, but I've heard tales, heard tells. But no, I've never met sandy beaches.
What is the name of is that the name of the squirrel from SpongeBob?
Sandy Cheeks.
Sandy Cheeks is
Sandy Cheeks. Okay. I was just making sure that my drag name wasn't too close to just the squirrel from SpongeBob.
I mean, would that be so bad?
Yes! I never watched SpongeBob and I have a moral purity about it. I don't know why. So he's like, this sand is newer sand from this other sand, which, I hate sand. It's grainy and annoying.
It's coarse and
yeah, gets everywhere. And Joan is like, okay, well, even if there was a murder on the plane, everyone that was on the plane is dead now. So why would we stay?
So can we go home?
Yeah, can we go home? Are we good? And Sherlock is like, no, because we don't know who did it yet. So
yeah, and he's like, we owe it to the families of the innocent people to make sure that they know that their loved one was innocent.
That is, yeah.
Which is a lovely thing that he says and does not mean, because clearly he's like, I want to solve the puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot of his like justifications for solving crimes are very like human based, but he also just likes it. He likes to solve things. This also is the first instance of something that Sherlock starts doing because he spends more time with Joan, which is that when he's describing the killer, he's like, he or she has blah, blah, blah. Like, Joan is like never flattered that he's like, women can kill too. But it's just, I think it's a funny detail.
Hire more women axe murderers.
50% of people on death row should be women. So Gregson has talked to the plane crash investigator people, and he's like, okay, we're allowed to look at this. We're allowed to look at the murder. They'll look at the crash. So we'll work together, but Sherlock, you don't have to leave. So they get into the interview room in the police station with this guy who is the owner of the plane. He owns a couple of planes. And we learned that the pilot of the plane is this guy named Joe, and the guy whose head was bonked. I wrote in my notes that he was the bonk-e. His name was Hank. The owner guy is like, it's no way it's Joe. Joe is a really good guy. He would never do anything wrong. He was really nice. So keep looking. It's not him.
He would never bonk somebody.
He would never. And then they're out of the investigation, the conversation room or whatever it's called. And Joan is like, okay, so Dad sent more details about the dinner. She says that his dad invited them to a restaurant called Lure, which I just really... like, how much more obvious do you have to get that you're like leading someone down a path to botheration? Like,
come see me at the Red Herring.
Yeah.
And Sherlock's just like, how many times do I have to tell you, Dad doesn't exist?
Yes. She's like, well, we gotta. And he's like, well, have fun with that. And then Belle is here, and I realized that we hadn't seen Belle all episode.
I feel like we see Belle twice, and both times he just cuts Sherlock off.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
He's here for like most of the episode.
Like, it's Belle time.
He's around, yeah.
So my thing immediately when this guy came on screen is I feel like what's ShamWowo's name again? The actor?
Johnny Lee Miller.
So he's like, his physical acting is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Belle's actor is like kind of trying to overcompensate to like match it. I can't stop looking at his hands. Like he's very deliberately placing them whenever he speaks, and I couldn't like unsee it.
It's true. Yeah, I can see
like,
that.
Good actor, like obviously, no disrespect, but just like in comparison, it was very funny.
Yeah, because he's like the cop guy, so he wants to be like cop officially stoic kind of something. Yeah, that's very true. So Belle has made some discoveries of his own because he's a detective, and that's what detectives do. So apparently, another one of the guys on the plane, the other guy on the plane, was named. His last name was Devlin. And he was the boss of the bonk-e. And the two of them had been having arguments about a lawsuit that they were
working.
Doing. Yeah.
That they were lawing.
Yeah.
They're performing.
Yeah, exactly. Against Carmonto Foods, which is just absolutely the TV equivalent of Monsanto Foods. It's like, couldn't be more obvious. That's what they mean. It's like
Gas Cargo Foods.
It's like they might as well be like, it's like when they're like, oh, I'm gonna look it up on Poodle.
Actually, Carmento is it's a candy-based company where you can only eat it inside vehicles.
The pressure, the vehicle pressure. The pression. So this is when
the investigators find the black box in the plane.
Yes.
And they go listen to it.
Which, first of all, it's orange, so
It's a symbolic black box.
So they listen, and it seems to back up this theory of, Devlin and Mr. bonk-e got into an argument because you can hear him being like, I'm not going to stand for this anymore. What's wrong with you? And the woman that's on the plane is like, calm down, come back here, stop. And then you hear them like their planes start to get,
oh no, we're crashing.
Yeah. You hear the slide whistle sound.
And it's also, I just want to note, like, I don't mean to just like nitpick this episode because it was overall really enjoyable, but also this entire conversation is like while the pilot's on the line with air control. So they would also have a copy of this, and they didn't need to find the black box.
That's a good point. Yes. Oh my
And in
gosh.
fact, air traffic control heard the plane crash, so they probably would have been the ones to call it in.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway,
Because he's like on the phone with air control and he's like, I'm having problems with my plane. And they're like, can you not do that? And he's like, no, it has to. It's not letting me not.
they're like, damn, for real? Shit sucks.
Damn, dude, that sucks.
Rip to your plane crash, but
Just heard about your plane crashing, bro.
and they're like, okay, so you were right, Sherlock. Devlin did give him a bunk. And Sherlock is like, actually, no, I was wrong. That's not what happened. Because he's like, you don't hear Hank at all in the recording. And I think that was because he was part of the silent majority.
Boo.
Well, it wasn't a pun. I'm just
Most people are silent at all times.
the majority of the time. No, silent.
Oh, the silent majority is dead people?
Yes. Yeah, because the majority of people never say anything on account of being dead.
That's why he sees dead people, but he doesn't hear them.
Right.
Damn.
Well, that movie
makes sense now.
Yeah, no other problems with
it
it.
makes
Senses.
sixth sense.
Makes sense 8.
It makes sense-8.
Another show.
I did not realize that sense-8 was a word also.
Oh, Sense8.
I mean, it's
Like in sense-8.
it's a pretty, it's an obscure word.
Yeah. I was just willing to just roll with that name of that show. Like, yeah, there's 8 of them.
Well, it's their eighth
Well, and they're also
sense.
they're called sensates in the show.
Oh, yeah.
ATE.
Yeah. It's their 8th sense?
Mm-hmm.
You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
everyone
go
has, the normal 7, and then they have their 8th one.
Can you name it? Can you name them?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the 8th
so
sense,
you got-
it's brain swapping. I don't know, I never saw the
Yeah.
show.
You're right. So yeah, it's touch,
Uh-huh.
taste,
Uh-huh.
smell,
Mm-hmm.
hearing,
Mm-hmm.
sight,
Mm-hmm.
magnets,
Uh-huh.
and
I mean, hey, if we want to get technical proprioception,
We don't.
well, yeah, I wasn't gonna count that one. Because I just think of something else funny.
I'm sorry that I spent 2.5 years of my life taking neuroanatomy and winding up with a C- in that class, and I would like to show off what I've learned.
And the 7th sense is friendship. And then mind melting.
Mind melding, yes. So, back to the show of Elementary.
Who?
Who is she? I don't know her.
Elementary?
Elementary. Enemy. We're watching an enemy.
An enemy. I live in an anemone.
So the reason that Sherlock thinks that it's that Hank was dead before, he thinks he was hidden in the cargo hold, because the pilot says to the radio traffic control people, he's like 3 souls aboard.
And then the radio traffic people are like, all right, don't get so fucking religious, dude.
And the plane crash investigator is like, yeah, but everyone knows pilots don't have souls. So
Well, no, she's like, sometimes, we all know that sometimes pilots don't count themselves in the soul count. And I'm like, shouldn't that be standardized for
Yeah.
cases like this?
right. That is an incredibly good question.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, we have 8 people, give or take.
Right. So Sherlock is like, that's why he said that, and that's why the plane got tipped, and that's also why you haven't been able to find the murder weapon yet, have you? That's what I thought. So,
Belle's like, oh, I could have wound up in the water. And Sherlock's like, nothing else wound up in the water.
stupid Bill. Why don't you go ding dong somewhere?
He's so irritable this episode.
And then he just takes Belle's phone and snaps the other SIM card into it.
Yes. How does he do this? He's just like, do you mind?
yeah,
And
I don't
reaches
know.
over to his pocket.
I mean, he needs to know Belle's password. He needs to know the voicemail password for the other guy.
Yeah, he just click, 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 beep, 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 beep.
Alex, Sherlock is really good at getting into stuff, okay?
Yeah, it's called
Okay.
hacking, and it is one of the skills he has.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. I have no more questions then.
So that they listen to the dead guy's phone, and it does have a voicemail that sounds exactly like the crash because Sherlock was right. Surprise.
What if there was another voicemail that he had gotten afterwards that would have played first?
Hey,
I don't know
honey,
what
just
it could
picked
have
up
been.
your rash cream. I'm on my way home. They didn't have extra large adult diapers, so I just got you large.
Just finished watching an episode of BBC's Sherlock. What a great show.
Oh man, that's infinitely more embarrassing than pooping and farting in your pants.
Yeah, everyone does that.
Yeah,
Yeah, keep telling yourself that, Val.
we all do. We all
Anyway.
do that every once in a while.
Mhm.
Alec.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we need to sit somewhere else to record the next episode. So Sherlock is like, and you know what? I don't think that the pilot was the killer because a pilot wouldn't have put the weight in the back like that because they would have known that that weight imbalance would crash a plane. So
Hmm.
they got some more investigating to do. So they go to the police station, and Sherlock is looking at, the pictures and the, plane drawing and stuff. And Jonah's like, hey, you were being kind of weird earlier. Are you afraid of flying? And Sherlock is like, shut up.
He's like, don't try to deduce me. It's not cool.
Yeah. And then he's like, you can tell she touched a nerve because he's like, you're a disgraced surgeon, not a disgraced psychiatrist. So, damn, dude. Okay. And she goes, how did you get from London to New York? And he doesn't answer.
He doesn't tell her about it.
He was on like a crate, like a shipping ship with his family's zoo.
It
And
was
then
it was a tiny house inside of a shipping crate.
And then there was a terrible accident, and he had to go on a lifeboat, and only him and a tiger survived.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
yeah.
it was, yeah.
I just figured out that you're talking about Life of Pi and not Madagascar.
I was thinking Madagascar too. I like to move it.
Yeah, I think he took a boat Greta Thunberg style.
Hmm.
Just wore a cute little sailor outfit and pew,
And it was to save the bees.
Yeah, save the bees.
The bees, yeah. And not because he's afraid of it, because he's a smart big man boy, so he would never be afraid of something.
Yeah, he does this funny, like, phobias are irrational. I would never have a phobia. I'm like, no, dude, you have a phobia, and also it's okay to have a phobia.
Yeah. There's any phobia that you have, there is a rational way to explain it. Like, I'm not phobic of balloons. I just think that they're dangerous and the loud noise they make could really hurt somebody. And usually they're filled with whatever. Like,
Poisonous gas.
it's like, okay, but you do have a phobia though. So then Bell. Ding ding, it's bell time. He comes in and he's like, we got the security footage. So there's some security footage of the outside of the hangar. So they go to watch that in the office, and it smells like
They go to the office, Michael Scott,
they
just
go
to see this video.
and they look right into the camera. Jim, the office.
Jim Sherlock.
Yes. Work homes at the office, more like working from home.
Because of COVID-19!
It's topical. Ew. So kind of a make your own joke kind of thing there. I just spat out the
We've
ingredients.
given you all the ingredients.
Yes. This is like a Freshly. No, this is not a Freshly subscription. It's a HelloFresh subscription.
Got him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what the difference is.
Freshly is just pre-made food.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's not super relatable knowledge, is
Yeah,
it?
it was. Plus, it was also more like Misfits. When they send you those fucked up vegetables.
Oh! So you're being rude to me now in front of our guest. So this is when we meet one of the other people that works at the at the airline. And his name is Mr. Bartz. But what if it was Mr. Farts?
Mm.
You ever think about that?
Wow.
What if he was a robot and he was Mr. Parts?
Mr. Parts. What if he was an exhibitionist and he was showing butts? Because his first name is Owen. Owen Bartz showing butts.
Showing butts.
Showing butts. Do you have an alternative name for him, Alec?
Well, I did, but it was rhyming with farts, and I feel like we're past that.
No, you could
What
still
if-
say it.
Oh, I was gonna say he's me at work. Owen Sharts. I sharded myself at work.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, like we said, it all happens.
Yeah.
It happens to all of us.
It happens to all of us. Do you really want to
what
put
It
that on
happened. It
the
happened twice.
Do you really want to put that on the episode?
People know. It's fine.
Well, they don't have to.
Actually, I talk about this on every podcast I go on, so
Good
it's
Lord.
just taking a while to get it on Elemental P. So murder, huh?
I mean, last
Murder
episode
most foul.
you were saying that you farted in Balto's face.
Well, he deserves it
He
and loves it.
he is fine with it.
This is the first time I've watched like a cop show in a long time, and so just the fake video enhancement part
Mhm.
Oh my god.
threw me off, and it was
Yes.
so funny. Like that's how video works in fiction.
That's how security tapes record.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Sherlock is looking at the security tapes at the Brownstone, and he's enhance, because there's a guy talking to Mr. Bonk E, who's got a polo on that has a logo on it, on the sleeve, because they can't see his face, but they can see the sleeve of his shirt, and it's Tomato Foods.
It says on Sant.
On Sant, yes, exactly. and he's
It says arm 2,
mm-hmm,
It does say arm 2.
and his other sleeve says arm 1.
mm-hmm.
It's just to help him get dressed.
Yeah, the front of the shirt just says torso. He's a real Mr. Cool Ice. And so Joan is like, hey, what are you up to? And Sherlock explains, I'm looking at this, and we don't know what he looks like, but whatever. But we could pay attention, we'll just look for somebody who carries a pager still in 2012, because that's old school. And Joan is like, by the way, I'm about to get ready to go have dinner with your dad, so if you want to come along with, you got to do it now. And Sherlock is like, he's still not coming, so no, I'm not going to waste my steps to go to this restaurant.
He's like, why would I go to church if God isn't real?
Exactly. And Joan is like, fine, you're rude. Also, it's an insulin pump. It's not a pager. Which is just, I think it's a positive for the people that designed that insulin pump, because they probably designed it to be inconspicuous and look kind of like a pager.
Mm-hmm.
And here Sherlock is, all smarty poopy pants, and he doesn't know.
He's like, there's no shortage of and they make a bunch of like fat jokes.
Yeah, he does.
But he's like, there's no shortage of like plump white executives at this office, but only one carries a pager / a insulin pump.
Right. Yeah. So they go to the one diabetic executive who also was being sued by the lawyers. So that would be another thing that connects them. And he's like, yeah, I knew him, but it was because I was blowing a whistle at him.
Well, first he was like very badly lying, like, oh, I've never heard of him. Also, I heard that he died.
Right. Yeah. He's like, I heard Hank died in a plane crash. And they're like, oh, Hank? You know his nickname. Interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then, he closed the door and he's like, yeah, I'm a whistleblower. Like, please don't blow my cover. I don't really know what happened.
Yes. And Sherlock watches him have some trouble opening a pill bottle. And he's like, okay, goodbye. And he just evaporates out of the office.
he just apparates.
Yeah. And Bella's like, I thought he was a really good suspect. And Sherlock is like, he has no grip strength anymore, which can happen with diabetic people, apparently. And he had all this ergonomic office supplies in his office. And
Right, so he couldn't have held the murder weapon, which really throws a wrench in Bells.
Sure throws a wrench in bells.
It throws a wrench. He throws wrenches and bells.
It throws a wrench.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a bell.
Yeah, Sherlock's like, all we need to do to find the executive who did this is like hold a fake carnival for all the executives and have like a strength contest with the bell. And then whoever hits the bell is the murder suspect.
Yep. Yes. And I watched this episode twice, because I watched it once to take notes and then again with Alec. And I actually watched, I took note of the fact that there are shots that if you are like pausing or like looking at everything around these characters, they do have shots where you can see his like ergonomic pen and his book holder and stuff. So it's just
that makes sense.
You can be a detective too.
Uh-huh.
Fun fact, he probably got all that stuff from an occupational therapist.
Ah,
Shout out to OT.
That is fun.
yeah. Do you know that Alec studied occupational therapy for a while?
I deduced it from the way he said that sentence.
I studied it for so long, I could have got 2 degrees in it. Instead, I got none.
Ain't that
Well,
just the way sometimes?
Hey, it happens.
You got a degree and then you got an anti-degree. You know, it's like when you eat a pound of pasta and a pound of antipasta, you're hungry again.
All balances out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You looped back around to not having one again. So then,
I just wanted to wrap up this scene. I think it was a really weird tension between like respecting what diabetic people live through and also making fat jokes. Not super great, but
yeah,
not the worst by any means.
That is like, I think that's something that's like the one thing he really ever like derides another person on. Is like he'll often, like, if there's a suspect or whatever who's like, when they're looking for a larger person, he's usually like, yeah, he describes them as round and stuff like that.
Yeah, and like we can talk about like how that's because it's such a universally accepted form of derision, and how like he's self-absorbed and
yeah,
all that stuff. But it just, you don't have to write it. You could not write it.
Right. He could just say something else. So that guy's not a suspect anymore. So now we switch to Jones.
Dinner with daddy.
Dinner with father. One thing that I liked about this scene is right away he's like, oh, Sherlock's not coming, and Joan is like, yeah, sorry, and he's like, that's all right, I've laid as many bricks in the wall between us as he did. And that is
that was a good line.
Yeah, it's very true. Like,
it is on many levels.
Yeah. And his father is anyway. So he asks Joan, how's it going? And Joan actually has like some positive things to say about him. She's like, I think he's taking really well to his new life, and it's hard to get him to go to these meetings. But and then the dad is like, yes, that reminds me of this highly specific story from his childhood. He's like, when he was a kid, he would climb up on a fence and walk from post to post. And I told him not to do it because it's dangerous, but he did it anyway and fell and broke his wrist with the bone jutting out, which... Ugh.
Yummy.
What? What?
Huh?
What's up?
Seeing human blood does not make me hungry. Let's move on.
Okay, so, and then he wrapped the wound so that he wouldn't, and wore long sleeve shirts so he wouldn't have to admit that I was right. And then Joan is like, I would love to hear more about Sherlock and, learn more about him because I don't know that much about him. And the dad is like, yeah, sure. But first, I need to alert you that you have been coaxed into a snafu. Because he says, how's the sex? You do that, right? That's part of it?
For your exorbitant fee?
For your exorbitant fee. And Joan is not happy at all. He's like, sorry. It's just too funny. And, Sherlock knew that he could pull this prank off because Dad doesn't show.
Dad doesn't exist.
Dad doesn't exist. So this was.
Yeah, this is the point where I was like, now I'm a dad truther.
Yeah, this was a crisis actor.
Yeah, he says that Sherlock hired him to go to this dinner.
I don't really believe in crisis actors. I just want to say that.
I believe that all dads are crisis actors, but only them.
Well,
I do believe there are crisis actors, and there are Crisis 2 actors, and there are Crisis 3 voice actors.
I actually don't believe in those. I think those are all AI.
Okay, well, you're just a fucking conspiracy nut today, so.
Crisis-spiracy.
More like Christ is spiracy because God isn't real.
Christ is piracy. He's a pirate.
Christ was a pirate. That's why he wore those sandals.
Christ loves that booty.
Why would
he could walk on water?
Walk on water to rob other boats.
He turned water into rum, and he's like, where's the rum gone? And then he's like, here it is, I made more.
Here it is.
And he had a blue beard.
That one's speculation, but it is true.
He was very dangerous. You don't want to cross him.
Oh, that took me a second. It took me 3 days.
He has... he has stigmata because he has a hook hand and he tried to clap.
Where the other car door was, that was where I hook hand car door.
Exactly. So now we go back to Sherlock, and he's had a sand revelation, because the thing that Monsanto, not Bonbanto, Monsanto was being sued about was fake sugar, like a sweetener that looks like sugar but gives you cancer.
Okay, did either of you think for a second that the sugar was like the sand?
Yes, absolutely, I did. Yes,
like that's where I was being led,
because he was like,
tricked me.
sugar looks like sand.
He's like, the sand is unfrosted. I'm like, frosting, sugar,
Right?
But no, unrelated.
Yeah, it turns out it's just another kind of sand that looks like other sand.
Sandy flakes.
Sandy flakes. Yeah, my mom never used to let us eat sand pops. Very yummy cereal. Did they have those in Canada, Alex?
Sugar. Well, they're called
sugar pops.
We have corn pops.
So, well, that's the thing, is we have corn pops too now, but they used to be called sugar pops.
They're the same thing? Were they yellow?
Yeah. Am I thinking of oat pops?
I think those are just pops.
Sugar.
The kind of the yellow kind of like roundish. It's kind of like ovular ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, they weren't ovular here.
Oh, they're kind of like hollow.
Oh, ew. These are like Misfits box corn pops. No, the corn pops are like perfectly spherical.
Spherical? Like a Kix?
Like a what?
Kix? That cereal?
Hold on, I need to do some deduction. Paw Patrol Kix, Honey and Berry Berry.
Wow.
Kix.
Propaganda you cannot escape.
Yeah, so it looks like Kix are what we called corn pops. And then sugar
corn
pops are
bastards.
Corn pop Joe Biden. Connect the dots yourself.
Listen here, Applejacks.
She don't miss. So anyway, the sand has got Sherlock thanking. His gears are turning. And he is like, there was sand on the beach, but it was from the fuel tank of the plane. So somebody put sand in the fuel tank to mess up the plane slowly but surely and cause it to crash. And it was supposed to be, it was supposed to crash over water, so the sand would just look like sand and there would be no evidence of the sabotage. What's the French word for sabotage?
Sabotage, probably.
Le sabotage.
Le sabotage. And so Sherlock is like, I am so smart. There's a saboteur. Maybe Hank saw someone trying to sabotage the...
In French, it's a verb. Well, it's in English too, but you can like conjugate it in French.
Yeah.
Je saboterai means I will sabotage.
I mean, we have a word for that in English. It's I will sabotage.
Right, but you can make all kinds of funky, fresh words in French.
Well, that's just French.
Yeah.
What's the... I sabotage. She sabotages. They sabotage.
We sabotage.
It's not as fun in English.
You all as a plural group sabotage.
Yeah, you informal people sabotage, as well as you formal people sabotage.
You're saying sabotage.
We, inclusive, not including the listener, sabotage.
I love that there is a tense just for not you. It would be useful in English, to be honest.
It would.
So maybe Hank saw the saboteur and got bonked by them. And then they were like, this plane's going to crash anyway. Might as well put him in the back of it in the cargo hold.
It's free real estate.
Which just like, at that point, do you not have enough time to take out some of the sand? Because like, your plane just kind of went out the window. You added an extra 200 pounds to the plane, so it's not going to... I guess at that point, you're just like, well, what else can I do?
No, I think because the plane was already, like, the fuel was calibrated for his weight. And so when they thought they were, like, taking off. You can take off a plane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was thinking like a rocket. When you explode the plane into the sky, they already had the fuel expecting to have him, so that they thought they just had extra fuel.
Right. Well, the other thing is you can't take the sand out of the fuel tank if the fuel's already in there.
Yeah. But
listen, I'm sorry, I've never sabotaged a plane before.
You've never sabotaged a plane?
Arrested Development voice. The fact that that's what you call it. So they're back at the brownstone now, and Joan comes home from the punking, and Sherlock is like, "Hey, you're here. I have a new theory, and I found out who I might think it might be, and I've been waiting up for you, and now let's go catch the killer. It's time for a parlor room reveal." And she's like, fuck you? No? You punked me, and I did not appreciate that.
She's
I'm going
being
to
an
bed.
epic, illogical woman about it.
And he's like, I think this is a genuine like moment of vulnerability kind of Sherlock saying, "You should have trusted me when I said he wouldn't show." He just wants Joan to be a part of his life and a willing accompaniment.
Yeah.
What?
But Joan's not having any of it. She's like, if you want me to trust you, then do trustworthy things. Like, not
yeah.
pranking me.
Yeah. It's an incredibly valid point. So Joan is like, yeah, you can go hang out with your other friends if you want to go talk to a suspect. So he does.
Yeah, but also, she's not just mad that she got pranked. She's like, how can I possibly trust you when I don't know you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You don't talk to me about yourself. You do not open up to me.
Yeah. Which is a little contradictory because wouldn't saying I have an absentee father who is famously unreliable, isn't that kind of telling her about him?
Yeah, yes, but
He
I
needs
think
to provide specific examples in the text.
but I think this kind of really shows the compromise the two of them make, because when Joan is looking to have someone trust her and she's looking to trust them, she's someone that's looking for a lot more information, where Sherlock is like, I do trust you, which is why I've told you these 2 things about my life.
Right.
Where most people know 0 things about my life.
Right. Yeah. So Sherlock is hanging out with Belle instead. And by hanging out, I mean he's going to accuse someone of murder.
After grabbing Froyo.
Yeah. They don't show the Froyo, but he's wiping his lips right before before. So the other guy, so Show and Butts answers the door. And Sherlock is like, "So, we figured out things about you. For example, you are a pilot. You're not just a random guy that stands around in the security room of the airline." And they do this whole thing. I mean, he has this whole spiel about why he thinks that the guy has sabotaged the plane. Namely that every time he comes back from Miami, he has 66 more pounds of cargo than he should, based on like who's there and what their luggage
The
weighs.
guy's just like, math error.
Yeah. Sometimes I think stuff is 66 more than it normally is.
Specifically when it's coming back from Miami.
Right.
I'm really bad at math. Just like 3 days after going to Florida.
Yeah, it's just
actually-
because of all of the coke I do while I'm there.
It's just because my hair just gets so big in the humidity down there. From takeoff to landing, I lose 66 pounds of hair humidity weight.
Exactly. So Sherlock is like, "No, you're getting 30 kilos of cocaine every time you go to Florida."
Which is a lot
Miami,
of cocaine,
Florida.
right? Like, that's a lot of cocaine?
Yes,
Like,
I
a lot
believe
of cocaine.
one of those bricks is like a kilo. One of the bricks that they show in TV shows.
I just found 30 bricks inside
Damn.
of my plane.
30 bricks is how many in the wall between Sherlock and his dad.
Oh.
It's a theme.
And they are
Mhm.
cocaine.
Yeah.
That's actually how they bond in the later seasons.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it is a lot of coke because he's a mule. This is not his personal coke collection.
It's the glass bottles. They're Mexican Coke bottles. They weigh more. So yeah, so it's 30 kilos of cocaine, which some of the stuff in this episode is really, in hindsight, kind of on the nose. I don't think I remember to mention it, but like when they're at the security office for the airline, the guy that runs the airline also makes model planes,
Mm-hmm.
which is like, does he have a second thing that he likes, or it's just planes?
Just fucking love planes.
Big planes,
I mean,
little planes.
I don't know. That seems like authentic to me. Like that could be a guy. That's a type of guy.
Do you know what his favorite restaurant is?
What?
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh. Do you know what his favorite Disney movie is?
What?
Homeward Bound. Not related to planes.
Not yeah, not. I was gonna say, is it
really
Planes?
likes that movie.
His favorite.
It would have been planes. But
It's actually Planes too.
Is there a so Planes was a real movie that was made and was not just a fever dream of our Tumblr
I believe
collective
so, yes, but I cannot.
friend group in 2012.
guarantee.
Okay, yeah, there was definitely an alternative plot to Planes that like someone kind of low key spec scripted, or not really, but had the pitch.
It was
for.
about being a cocaine mule from Miami to New York.
Mm-hmm.
That was the original plot of Planes.
His. I was gonna say his favorite restaurant is illegal seafoods because the Everglades and Miami and cocaine illegal.
Okay, keep working on it.
Yeah, I'll come back to you. Tune back into episode 7 where I finished that joke. So
if this guy winds up being the killer and he goes to jail, is he the defendant or the plaintiff?
Hey. Well,
I'm gonna be the bailiff from this podcast.
They originally thought that someone was killed in a plaintiff.
Oh.
Both syllables.
Yeah, it's extra points in Scrabble. So they have this parlor room reveal on the step of this guy's house, and he's like, well, you're wrong, and also I couldn't have done it because I was hanging out with my boss. Goodbye.
He's so casual about it. Like, he just first of all, if any cop knocked on your door and you just opened up and hey, what's up? Yeah, I'll answer some questions. But also the fact that he's he's the guilty, and then he's implicated, and also just the casual closing the door.
He's not are we done here? He's just I have an alibi. Here it is. Goodbye.
Just gonna slowly close the door on you.
Yeah. It's very much a power move. Not a good one, but it is one.
It's a move.
It's a move. You have to move your arm to close the door.
He did a big Ganondorf charge up kick, but then just missed. That was a joke.
So he just used his arm.
Yeah. Very gently.
So Sherlock is it's the next day. Sherlock is in the brownstone, and Joan wakes up, and Sherlock is just sitting in her room.
Mm-hmm.
Just casual.
Yeah, like a weird statue. And Joan calls the parents of the baby she's babysitting, and she says, "Can I remove the weird clown statue in the corner?" And they say, "What clown statue?" And then she checks the oven because the turkey is in the crib. You know?
What?
Alex, do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
There are these two scary stories of being a babysitter where one was somebody babysitting a kid and puts the kid to bed and is calls the parents and is all right, she fell asleep just fine. The clown statue in the corner of the room is kind of creepy though. And the parents are like, "What clown statue? Ah! Oh no." And then there's the other story of somebody making a turkey and putting the baby to sleep, and they look in the crib later and there's a turkey in the crib. So where's the baby? What's in the oven?
The clown.
It's a clown.
It's Pagliacci the clown.
But doctor, the turkey is in the crib. Yes, it's exactly like that. And Joan is like, huh. And Sherlock is like, okay, you were right. I am not fond of planes. Not because it's a phobia, but because I'm very smart and good at noticing things. So I see things, and I know that planes, things could go wrong in planes really easily. And Jonah's like, yeah. Okay, totally. Mm-hmm.
And he implies that all pilots are drinking on the job, which I feel generally isn't true.
Right? Yeah. We can ask Summer. I mean, maybe they are.
Maybe they are.
I don't know, it kind of feels like a weird excuse because, don't you notice all the same things when being driven around?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if you're epic smart, like Shockwave is, you would know that being in a plane is safer than being in a car.
Right. It's almost like he does definitely have a phobia. So he's like, see, Joan, I'm trusting you, but telling you something. And Joan is like, you're telling me something I already guessed. This is not, I'm not impressed by this.
That don't impress me much. So you're scared of planes.
But have you got a dad? Don't get me wrong, I think your dad is real.
But
so
that
anyway.
won't keep me from being stiffed on a meal.
So now they go to the police station because the Miami Coke guy's alibi was, I went to my boss's house and I was there all morning, so that's my alibi. So then they go to the police station, the boss is there, and he's like, yeah, the other guy called me and he told me that he totally murdered Hank the Bonky and that he needed me to alibi him, and I couldn't do that. I couldn't let that stand, so I'm here instead. And also he looks like shit.
Yeah,
Just
and
that's also.
Sherlock is like loudly whispering into his like scarf that he's holding over his nose about how smelly the guy is, like 2 feet away from him.
Yeah. He's
But
stage
he
whispering.
He smells like model plane glue.
From his model planes.
Mm-hmm.
So then they're like, wow, Showing Butts is the killer. We gotta go get him now. So they go to his house, and he's gone. He booked it.
But
He's skedaddled. Exactly.
They find a wrench in the situation, which is his garage.
Yes, that's what he calls his garage.
He calls it the situation.
My car holding situation. Yeah, and it's the murder weapon. It's got blood all over it. It's super obviously the murder weapon.
It's
and
covered in like sea algae and like brackish water. And
yes.
Shake Shack's like, hold on, this is stupid.
Yeah, he's like, why would he leave like to get away from being arrested for the murder and leave the murder weapon behind?
And also it's still wet.
It's still wet. Yeah. One thing I liked about this too is that Sherlock is like, it's got algae from brackish water, and Belle is like, brackish? And Joan is like, it's a mixture of salt water and fresh water. And I was like, thank you, Belle. It's not unusual to not know what brackish means, because I was having a conversation, me and my two friends one time, and I was like, yeah, it's a mixture of salt and fresh water. I know there's a word for that. And they both like at the same time were like, brackish. And I was like, it's weird that you both know that. It's not weird that I don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, okay.
And then Alex said, you mean the show starring
Lawrence
Fishburne.
Let's see, Alec Fishburne.
One day.
That's the prize.
Yeah.
Keep your eyes on it.
So they're like, okay, so he ran away and he left the murder weapon, which is weird. And Sherlock is like, no, because see these cans of motor oil? It's like says on the can, Acme fake oil can prank can.
They're too fancy for his car, so
yes.
They must have stacks of fake money in them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, real money in the show.
Yes, prop money. Within kayfabe, very real. So yeah, he's like, I feel like he wouldn't leave the murder weapon and all of his coke money. So
if he's on the run from the law, he'll probably need this money.
Yeah. So he is probably dead, basically. So they bring the boss back in, and he looks even more like shit. He looks like microwave shit.
Okay, hold on. Question,
what?
Because
yes.
So when they left, they were like, excuse us for a few minutes, and they walk out of the room.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they got to the guy's house, I'm like, won't that guy just leave the room? So I assumed that he was just sitting there alone the whole time.
Yeah. The timeline of like TV shows is weird because they'll only show, they'll show somebody testifying on the stand for like a minute, but in reality those things take like hours. And like they'll do like interrogations with people, and they'll go to the suspect, and the suspect will be like, I've been in here for 8 hours with nobody talking to me. So I feel like they just like did that.
I mean, all the characters are just T-posing when they're off screen.
That is very true. It saves animation time.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they...
It is funny to think about him just sitting there the whole time. I thought that once he was like, oh, it was showing butts, they were like, okay, great, thanks, you can go. We're going to go take care of this. And then when things didn't add up, they were like, hey, could you come back? We just have like one more question for you.
But no, the thing is, they literally did say, like, excuse us for a few minutes and just left him in the room.
Yeah.
Luckily, Owen lives right next to the police station.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
And that's actually, they never have to go in cars, and that's why Sheriff isn't scared of cars, because he doesn't go in them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he also uses the subway all the time, which nothing bad has ever happened on the subway. So
No, never.
Yeah. So
I mean, it makes sense. Planes are up in the sky,
Uh-huh.
and it's open, and anything could happen.
Uh-huh.
But the subway, it's protected by the ground that it's under.
Uh-huh. There's a lot of ground above it, which makes it safer.
Mm-hmm. More protection, more padding.
Mm-hmm. So they're talking to the boss guy, and he just really looks, I mean, he looks like a thumb when you put it in water for too long.
Pruny.
Or like for when you put a Band-Aid on something and then you take the Band-Aid off, you know. He looks
Yeah.
bad. And
He looks
Sherlock is
bad.
like, yeah. And
You
Sherlock
look-
is like,
you look
oh,
bad.
he's like, he must be lying. He looks terrible. And Joan is like, yeah, or he's like dying because he looks really terrible. And he's gulping down water like it's water.
And he's thirsty.
He's very thirsty man. But while they're interviewing this guy, Sherlock and Joan are in the behind the one-way mirror thing, that little room. And they're talking about something or other, and Joan sees a little scar on Sherlock's wrist. And she's like, "Oh, where'd you get that?" And Sherlock says, "A boyhood misadventure. I fell off a fence and my bone was jutting out and it was super gross. So that's how I got the car." And then Joan says something that she says a lot that I don't understand how she even gets away with saying it once. Because she says, "I just remembered an errand I forgot to run."
I think at this point she's just banking on him not really caring much about her.
Yeah. Yeah. She does that so much. Like, she'll ask a question about something, he'll say something, and she'll just be like,
I have to go water my dog.
yeah. It's like when you laugh at someone and you're like, I just was remembering a joke from earlier. I wasn't laughing at you. It's such a weak, and it's like, it's not specific, which maybe he would catch on more if it was specific. But she's just like, I have some personal life to do. So I'll talk to you later.
I have some feelings I need to take care of.
And he's like, ugh, God. Get
I have
out
a
of
B
here.
plot I need to resolve.
Yeah.
And Sherlock's, bees?
So Sherlock is in the hallway with Belle and Gregson, and he sees Belle refilling the Wawa again. More of that clear, splashy liquid we call water.
And he says, give this guy a pitcher, it'll last longer. But it doesn't last very long because the guy's so thirsty.
Yes, he is. He just sips the whole thing up. But we can't talk more about that because we have to go to the B plot that Joan has.
The B stands for
so-
bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the B plot. Was the whole thing with the plane over the water the C plot?
In an aeroplane over the sea plot.
Oh.
I'm going to change my nickname to that. Anyway, so Joan has goes to a bookstore where she finds the actor, the so-called actor that Sherlock supposedly hired to impersonate his Faja. And he's like, how did you find me? And she's like, oh, you dropped a receipt and I handed it back to you. And in that 1 second, I saw that the name of the bookstore and that you got a 20% discount. Which...
And he's like, I see you must have been hanging out with Sherlock a lot.
Right.
And I'm like, no, it's an address. Like, it's really simple.
Yeah, I mean, it is a very quick... It's a very
Yeah.
small amount of time to... Sherlock is teaching Joan Zawarudo. So she's like, okay, Alistair, I know that that's your name, and that story about his fence wrist is real. So you must know him because he wouldn't have just told you that for a prank. And Alistair's like, you got me. We've been friends since he was 10, which isn't weird.
He's like a son to me, in a way.
Yeah, I think that is.
My gears were turning, like, oh, maybe this is Sherlock's real dad in an emotional way. Because he doesn't have a physical one. Right.
Dads are a concept anyway.
Dads are fake, but the consequences are real.
Exactly. So Alistair is like, yeah, Sherlock and I are friends because he wrote me a letter when he was 10. Sherlock was, at 10 years old, just writing letters left and right. He was...
To anybody.
There's later seasons where there's somebody that he met from a letter that he wrote to them. I don't want to spoil it. But anyway, so... apparently Alistair did the Yorkshire accent in a radio play really well, and he was the only one that got it right. So Sherlock, at age 10, wrote to send him his approval. Like, I consider myself an expert on this subject, and you have done very well. So Alistair's talking about how, he's known Sherlock for a long time, and he did know him when he was using, and he was in New York, and Sherlock came to his house when he was doing really bad. And Alistair took him in for a couple days and took care of him. And he was like, yeah, and he kept mumbling this woman's name over and over again. And Joan is like, what's the name? And Alistair's like, don't worry about it.
He said it wasn't important, so I forgot it.
Yeah. and then Joan is like, okay, but it seems like it's probably important. And Alistair's like, right, I'll tell you.
Well, he's like, you know what? Actually, I think it probably does matter.
Yeah. And he
just on his own.
Yeah. He takes a big breath in, and then we cut back to Mr. Cooper. And that's the boss guy. And the pitcher is empty. So Sherlock is like, all right, time for my very clever deducing question.
You got a pee-pee?
Are you pissing? Are you pissing and peeing?
Oh, you're pissing? And the guy's like, no, I'm good. Why? And Sherlock is like, killers never pee, so...
You're covered in glue and the pee can't get out.
Yeah. So this is the Parlor Room Reveal 2. Peggle 2 voice. Parlor Room Reveal 2.
Woo! Woo.
Because all of the things that Cooper said Showing Butts did, he actually did. So he sabotaged the plane and he bonked the man. And when he talked to Showin about it, he stabbed him. Owen must have stabbed Cooper at some point or another, or cut him in some way. And he lost a lot of blood, but he...
you said when Boss Man went to go talk to Showin Butts.
Yeah.
You mean when Boss Man went to go kill Showin Butts. He totally went over there with the sole purpose of murking that dude.
Yeah, definitely.
And then they got into it.
Mm-hmm.
And
because he didn't want... There was a disagreement over whether or not he should be murdered.
Right. He's like, I think I should murder you. And I was like,
I prefer not.
I got all this fake money in my real oil. I mean, real money in my fake oil.
Fake oil for my real friends. Real oil for my fake friends. So, so he lost a lot of blood from the, artistic differences of whether or not Owen should be murdered.
And he's like, oh no, it was just a scratch, just a flesh wound from being in my garage alone.
Yeah. He wouldn't, it's so obviously a lie, because Sherlock is like, show us the cut you have. And he's like, what? I don't have a cut. And he's like, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, okay, so I do have a cut, but it was from a different thing. So... So he glued the wound back up so he didn't have to go to the hospital and explain why he got a cut. And that's why he smells so much like glue, is because he's covered in glue.
And he looks like shit because he lost a lot of blood.
He looks like shit because he's lost a lot of blood. Yes, exactly.
And he doesn't have to pee because he's reabsorbing liquid to get more blood.
Right, yes.
And he glued his urethra shut.
And because murderers never pee.
Mm-hmm. Cheaters never win, killers never pee.
I'm always saying this.
So, they're like, you gotta tell us that you did it, because the fact that you brought down a plane is very 9/11-y of you, and you could get the death penalty for it. This is just such a shitty... They always like have to have something to bargain with, but the fact that they use like the death penalty isn't illegal in New York State, but it's legal in the US, so you could be federally charged.
Yeah, this is very like a propaganda scene where like they're justified in like threatening to elicit a confession. And like they are in the situation, but that's like the point of the propaganda, is like to convince us that it ever is.
Yeah,
acceptable.
sometimes we have to completely lie to people so that they give false confessions and then spend 30 years in jail.
Sometimes we have to evoke the Patriot Act for no reason.
Sometimes we have to tell a man he can't leave the room until he takes his clothes off.
It's normal and it's good. So, but they're also like, we are gonna find the body, because of course you probably stashed his butt in the same spot that you stashed the wrench, and there's only like 2 spaces that could be. So, you might as well.
Because every character on the show only knows 2 locations.
Well, it's the 2 ponds with brackish water. But even this is what I think is so silly about it is apparently Boss Man killed Hank, bonked him with the wrench, and then threw the wrench in a pond, and then wanted to frame showing butts. So he swam around a pond and found the wrench that he tossed in.
Could be a river or a marsh. That's not less.
But the idea then is that like he left it in a convenient place so he could go back and get it.
Yeah, just in case he has to frame somebody with it later.
And then also part of their like convincing him to confess is like, oh, like you could waste the NYPD's budget by like making us search these places and we'd eventually find it. But don't you want to be nice to us and like just tell us where it is?
So that we can more easily...
No.
Yeah. No, thank you.
I'd like to waste your budget, please.
I choose option A. Thank you. Yeah. But, so we got him. We got the guy. That's it.
Now, I don't think we ever actually explained why he did it, but basically, Boss Man knew about showing butts and all the coke, and then the pilot guy, Joe Pilot, he found out about it and was not okay with it, which is why the boss went to sand fuel and sabotaged his plans, and then Hanky walked in on him.
Yes.
The law firm was unrelated, I guess.
Yeah. Like, it was totally inconsequential that there were 3 other people that were supposed to be on that plane. How much do you get paid for coke?
Yeah, and like the guy who was murdered had nothing to do, like, he just walked in on him when he was filling it up with sand.
Yeah, he was like the least relevant.
He would have died anyway in the,
It is funny. There are some episodes that it does feel like very contained, like our last one in the hospital. I don't think they ever look for anybody really outside the hospital. They go to the coffee shop and like, that's it. But then there are some like with this one where it's like, we gotta check out this, and then this, and then this, and then this. Yeah. But it was actually this.
Yeah, it was actually totally separate.
But that's part of a good detective story is like loose ends and like red herrings.
Yeah. And it's like realistic to real life, I think. I mean, not that I know anything about any complicated murder schemes, but you don't always like find the fact that there's been a crime because the murder, like, it's not always linear of like, this person got killed by this.
Yeah, I feel like it is more realistic. My only issue with it is that Shark Week is like, oh, it was this, and then it wasn't. And he's like, but it was this, and then it wasn't. And he's like, but it was this. And like, he's never, like, he's wrong several times, but he never like recognizes that because he keeps finding a new thing.
Yeah, he's like, more data for my theory. Yeah, I do like that. I like when they do... I think it's funny when they do like a whole parlor room reveal to somebody and the person is like, no, no, I didn't do that. And they're like, oh, well, we had a really convincing motive for you. So
didn't you hear the music when I was speaking?
Right. Yeah.
Sherlock, it definitely plays his own theme music.
in his head. You can also, like, as a watcher of this show, you can tell when he's right or not, because when they're describing it, they'll do flashbacks of it, but only when he's right and not, like,
Interesting.
other times. But it's usually towards the end of the episode anyway, so,
Yeah.
you know, it's not like you're really spoiling anything for yourself. So then, the murder investigation's wrapped up. We got him. It was Glue Man. And so we're back at the brownstone. And Sherlock is wearing, you might say, a t-shirt and a vest. Because that is what he's wearing. Joan comes home and she's like, oh, congratulations on the solving the case. Can I ask you a question? And he's like, sure, as long as I can't hear it at all. And I'm not in the room. And he goes to leave. And she says, I know about Irene. And then Sherlock turns around and just shows the ultimate puppy dog face. He looks so sad.
Hold on. It's the Bernie sad face from the HKIP server.
Yeah.
I'm gonna share it so Alec can see it.
Oh, good. Man, it would be really terrible if I missed out on a joke that the two of you got that I didn't.
Yeah, good thing that hasn't
Because
happened.
that hasn't happened.
It's a very good image.
It's a combination of that and the big shiny eyeball emoji.
Yeah.
It's so sad. It's really good. Johnny Lee Miller is good at acting.
He's like, Irene, you rang?
Irene, I hardly know-een. Not that. Maybe something different.
Irene, no.
We-reen.
We reen.
We
They
are
reen.
Reen.
We, not including the listener, will reen. But yeah, that's episode.
That is episode. Alex, thank you so much for being on with us. What would you like to tell our listeners about?
Yeah, sure. I'm Alex. I'm Leaf Crunch on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on HKIP, Henry Kissinger's Pokemon Going to Die, Not a Threat, Just a Fact, with Val. And yeah, this was a really enjoyable episode, and I'm glad that I could be on Elemenope.
We were glad to have you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Val Flight Cub. You can find me on Twitter at FlightCub. The second B stands for sand. And LMNOP is at LMNOPcast on Twitter and on Gmail, but, you know, use the email sparingly. Alec, would you like to promote anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Well, that's all for the episode. This marble will keep on rolling.
We didn't talk about the fact that it was the first ever shortened
Oh yeah,
the title intro sequence.
you missed out on the Rube Goldberg machine.
Oh, you mean the intro isn't 1 second long?
No, it's usually longer.
It's usually a whole game of Mousetrap.
Yeah.
Oh,
But actually, this episode, yeah, you got very lucky. You got an extra 30 seconds of content.
right.
Mhm.
I needed that to deduce.
Yeah. It's good. Just imagine a Rube Goldberg machine.
Okay, I'm imagining it.
Yeah, it's that.
Wow.
Yeah. Or an elaborate metal-based game of Mousetrap.
It's a zany action song in minor key.
Yes. So yeah, that's episode. Thank you, Alex.
Do you want to know the list of words that I came up with that aren't Sherlock?
Yes.
Yes.
Sherwood, Sherman, Sherbet, Shirtless, Shirley, Shockwave, Short Film, Shark Week, Shoreline, Sharman, Shaquille, Sharehouse, Shave Cream, Shameful, Shale Oil, Shake Shack, Shouldn't, Shanty, Shamwow, Shoe Rack, Shepherd, She-Ra, Shindig, Sheriff.
Oh my god!
Wow.
Legends only! That's incredible. I wish that you had more opportunities. Sorry for talking so much.
Oh, that's okay. I think using them sparingly was good.
Also good. When you said Sherman, I was like,
Yeah.
do you know?
Yeah,
that
the
his
first
name
time I was like,
Sherman?
who's messed up?
Yeah. I was like, maybe this has got to be on purpose.
Well, I was gonna offer you like a Sophie's choice between this and another bit, but I couldn't think of another bit.
I'm glad we didn't have a choice then.
Sophie's trick.
No, it was Sophie's treat.
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna go jail poop. Bye.
All right, bye.
Bye.